Right, good morning. Okay, having done a bit of catching up, what I've realised is before I move on to the next stage, which is to start to do stuff, which I really need to do, instead of sitting on my arse doing absolutely nothing, is to actually finish the catch up with the bikes and move on from there. Because I want to just record where I am, why I am where I am, and take it from there. So let's have a look at a couple of bits. Right, first thing first is actually getting the bikes out the garage, or shed I should say. There's a very slight slope that runs out just down to the grass, which is enough to make it awkward getting the bikes in and out. So having played a bit, and now that we're looking to work on the garden and do something with it, put a proper path in so I can run the bikes down, and I can walk backwards up and down the garden, and just make it look better. So I need to start working on the space outside. Now, it was always my intention to have a little patio area outside the shed, so that I can park the bikes on it, wash them, clean them, or whatever, and just generally work outside if I need to or want to. But it's getting them in and out, because at the moment they're going in front first, which means I need to turn them round to get them out of the garden without running across the grass and everything else, which is not so much fun in the wet. So this week I've been experimenting with turn them around right up close to the garage, and I've moved the paving slabs around a bit, and it seems to work. I'm quite happy with that. I'm still walking over the earth down here when it's wet, which is not so good, so it needs a bit more work. It's going to need a bit more paving, but it's a start, so I know where I am now. Okay, so that's outside. Okay, so I guess it all started with the Sportster, which, when the engine decided to self-destruct and it became obvious that it was going to take quite some time to get it fixed, I decided I needed another bike to keep me going, which of course turned out to be the XT, which is, as you notice at the moment, is a little bit in bits, because I've taken all the plastics off to get the bike clean. Because it's going to be up for sale, and the previous owner wasn't a big fan of cleaning it, and I haven't done a lot of it because I basically used it to ride to work and back, which is what I wanted it for. But what I decided was I needed two bikes, so the XT was going to be one, and the Sportster was going to be the other. The idea was in my mind that I was going to rat the XT, although it was never going to be a proper rat because it's blue, and not only is it blue, all the plastics are these off-road type plastics, are really soft and flexible type stuff that, you know, it's never going to take paint. Which would mean replacing all of that with something else. So it's blue. You can get black plastics, but the plastics are extortionately expensive. It would probably cost me more than the bike to replace them. And the reason those plastics are soft is that when you drop it off road, they don't break. So if you're going to replace them with metal or anything else, you're going to break stuff if you take it off road. So it's a bit of a catch-22. But I'd started down that route. I wanted to change the bike and modify it, which is why it's currently got an Acerbis tank on it for the additional fuel capacity. Foot pegs have been modified to the larger ones, which are good. New chain of sprockets. And that's where I was. It's got a motor bat on it as a battery at the moment. That's not staying because the original battery that's currently sitting on the Optimate reads as being in really good condition. So that one's going back on, and the motor bat is coming off. But aside from that, this has been one of the most reliable bikes I've ever owned. It never breaks down. It always starts. It's been a really good bike. But just as I got to this point, well, I just bought the tank, actually, the service tank. Hadn't fitted it. It was still running the original XT tank with the broken panels, and these are stupidly expensive to buy. You're going to be looking at least 60 quid if you're lucky for one of those. So that's was the tank that was on it. Good tank, nothing wrong with it, aside from being a tiny bit small maybe, but it's a great bike. It's also very, very quiet with the standard exhaust on it. Apparently other exhausts don't add anything to the power, although they do make them louder, but that's about it. So I just bought that service tank. I just upgraded the foot pegs, and then of course damage, which put paid to that, really, because I can have one, but all the other decided really not got the time or effort to run 3 bikes. I don't ride them, so no. The XT's got to go, so it's got to get back together, be MOT'd, and be sold. At the moment, I'm just torn with whether or not I should take the exhaust system off, wire brush it, and paint it, because it's looking a bit scabby. Nothing wrong with it, there's no holes, but it don't look very good. Otherwise, I say it's a really nice bike. It rides really well. I've done minor upgrades, things like the K&N oil filter. It's got a K&N oil filter in it for some peculiar reason. I don't know why I bother, but anyway. Oil was changed. Basic servicing's been done on it, but it needs to go. Actually, one of the things I need to do next on it is to put the speedo back on, because the bulb had blown and you have to take the speedo off, and it's held on by these little R clips. It's a pain in the arse getting it on and off. It's not even in focus, but one of the R clips was missing, so I want to replace that with a proper R clip, because I could just put a bit of wire on it like it had before, and I haven't got any pins small enough, so I might as well order some R clips. That needs to go back on. Maybe do something with this exhaust, I'm not entirely sure yet, and then all those plastics need to go back on. I need to get another screw to put the service labels back on the side, MOT, and out of here. Okay, so Sportster. Now Sportster has been the bane of my life since I've owned it, but I really enjoy riding it. It forces me to be laid back when I'm riding. It's just that sort of bike. It's a cruiser. This is the Sportster S, or the Sportster Sport, which is, to my mind, a bit of a misnomer, because yeah, you can ride these fast and the Buells are okay, but to me it's just not that sort of bike. Now again, this is running down the rat road, and it's one of the reasons I bought this one, is because it's a bit scabby. You know, there's nothing polished about this bike at all. So basic modifications, yeah, Lapera seat, because the old seat was a split cover on it, rack on the back. I do have a seat pad that I can replace that with. However, there is a bit of an issue now, because I decided that I like the look of these super traps, and the problem is the rear foot pegs don't work anymore, because now the super traps are right in the way. In fact, it's current seeing you can't even get this one down. You can buy an extension, but I don't know whether or not they actually will go all the way. So engine's been rebuilt. That's running really nicely now. What I have been doing is playing with the riding position. Now, this used to have highway pegs on, but these exhaust pipes don't have any heat protection, which means that not only have I melted my boots on them, I melted the legs of my trousers when I had the highway pegs on there, so the highway pegs have come off, at least for now, and I've bought some tape to wrap at least this area with, and see what happens with that. The only other thing I've done on this, to say, is to adjust the riding position. Now, I did put these stupidly wide drag bars on it, which makes life interesting when filtering, but it's a Harley, so what the hell. The original bars had some pullback, and it was more of a sporty position. Could have done with rear sets, really. So what I've done is I've stuck some extended risers on, which work, except the clocks now don't work. Now, I was never a fan of the clocks sitting up on top, and I had always intended to move them. Maybe just leave the tacho sitting up there, which doesn't work at the moment, but figure out why that doesn't work. And leave the tacho there and remount the speedo somewhere. The only other thing I've done is to shave the eyebrow. Joys of living near Heathrow is waiting for the aircraft to go over. Yeah, I shaved the eyebrow down because I wasn't a massive fan of it sitting there, and I think it does improve the look of the headlight. But then I've got the whole issue of where the clocks are going to go. So that's really about it. So clock remounting is one of the next projects on this bike, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, thanks for watching, and ride safe.